The next topic is fuel. I would like to discuss charcoals. If you live in a hot, humid climate, you need to think about storing them in some kind of a bucket, because your coals will absorb some of the moisture and then they are very difficult to light. Storing them in a bucket such as this also has some of its challenges, because these kinds of lids have to be hammered on with a mallet, and then you can't get them off unless you have a special kind of a tool to pry the tab off. There are some nice little lids that you can purchase from companies such as Emergency Essentials. It's a lid that snaps on and then it unscrews, so you can get into your products much easier if it's something that you're using all the time. Of course, you can use these kind of buckets to store food as well. Even a lot of the black ones are food grade, but you need to watch for that and make sure that they are food grade, because some of the black ones are not. But you're pretty safe with the white ones and the beige ones and the blue and the red. And then I'd like to say a little something about the self-starting charcoals. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you bring them home and then they won't start. Well, the reason for that is that there's a chemical inside of them that will evaporate. And sometimes when you purchase them at the store, the packaging already has a little bit of a hole in it, and some air is getting inside of there, and that self-starting material has already evaporated out of there, and then you need to use some kind of starter fluid anyway. So I really don't feel that the self-starting coals are worth the price. And even if they will light, they're still going to evaporate. The self-starting material that's in them is still going to evaporate within, maybe 6 months to a year. So instead of storing a whole bunch of lighter fluid, I would highly suggest that you invest in a charcoal briquette lighter, and that's on page 2. And you can purchase one for about $20, $25, but I made one. But I did break my can opener making this, because your handheld can openers are actually designed to open your cans from the top and not from the side. And the metal on the side is much weaker than on the top. So as I was trying to make these holes, I broke the can opener. And then I had to start making some pilot holes with a nail, so that way I could get it started. And so it was difficult, but I managed to do it. And the way these work is you stuff the can about 1/3 of the way with some newspaper, put a few coals in there, take a match inside one of the holes and light the newspaper, and get some of the coals started. And as those coals get started, you can start adding some more coals, and then the coals that are already burning will actually ignite the new coals that you put in there, and then you just dump them out wherever you want to use them. Okay, on page 3, we talked about these little portable stoves or sterno stoves already. But one of the things that I did not mention was the kind of pots that you need to use. And you need to use ceramic pots or cast iron pots. Do not use aluminum or stainless steel. They will catch on fire. And these are the type that you get in the camping section, actually of any grocery store or major grocery store, department store. These I actually got at a thrift store, and some of you might recognize the camping pots as being blue with little white spots, and these happen to be black with little white spots. Okay, on page 4, there's more information about solar cookers, and I'm going to get into those in just a little bit. On page 5, we have what's called a paint can heater. And it is highly flammable, but you can use it indoors. And it is made with either a paint can or a number 10 can. And it has, this one has already been used and it's wet inside. It has a roll of toilet paper in there that has had the cardboard taken out of the center. I'm going to show you how this works. Pour your alcohol in there. I want to show you that this is safe. Alcohol burns very clean. But you do have to be careful. And don't stand right over it. And I didn't even have to touch the toilet paper for this to light because the fumes ignite. And then you slide it under your pot and you cook with it. And then to snuff it out, you can actually use your pot and snuff it out. Let it cool. And alcohol does evaporate if a lid is not put on it. And so this is a plastic lid that comes with a lot of the number 10 cans of food products. Many of the boxes that have 6 cans of food in one box, every single can will have one of these plastic lids. So once this cools, you want to put the lid on, and then your alcohol will not evaporate. So that's your paint can heater, or an alcohol heater. The next one is a tin can stove. And many of the young Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts learn how to use these. And this is made out of a tuna fish can. This one's already been used, so that's why it looks so black in the video. But this is just rolled up newspaper. It's folded accordion style. You do have to purchase something called paraffin wax. It has to be melted. It's a little bit of a pain though, but it's an option. In case you want to buy some paraffin wax, you get that in. I got mine at a art store, a little hobby store, and it's not too terribly expensive. You get it in the section that has the candle supplies. And this is a nice little thing. Hopefully it'll light for you. There it goes. And this is also safe to use indoors. And then you can also use that in a sterno stove if you don't have these little heat cells. And you put that inside your stove, just like that, and put your pot on it and heat up your food. And then you snuff that out the same way you would any other fire, by cutting off the oxygen supply, and it's out. Okay, page 7 in your manual, it's a rocket stove. And this is one of my favorite things. I just was thrilled when I made one of these. Took a little bit of time. In your manual on page 7, there is a website that takes you through the process of how to make one of these. And if you're interested in making one, I would suggest that you do that. It costs practically nothing to make. It was just a can, a number 10 can, a few soup cans, and then I did have to buy a bag of vermiculite, which was just a few dollars. And this particular item is, well, I can't get the lid off, but anyway, what you do with this is you stuff it with some newspaper, and these are just some old stakes. I didn't feel like going out and finding some sticks in the yard, but you can. And then you just feed these through. And the fire is down in here, and then as your wood burns, you just keep scooting it in. And one of my classes that I taught not too long ago, I had this thing burning continually for about 3 hours. And as long as you continue to feed it with some wood, it will continue to burn. The only problem is that over time is the embers build up inside of there, and you need to at some point take these out and pour out some of those embers because they get a little clogged up in there. Okay, the next page in your manual on page 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is information about Dutch ovens. And I showed you a little Dutch oven earlier. Dutch oven cooking takes a little bit of practice. You just have to do it. It's not any different than cooking in the oven as far as the temperature, the amount of time. It's just that your heat source comes from a different location. So your heat source is coming from the bottom, partially, from your coals, and then you have twice the amount of coals on the top lid of your pot. So your food is cooking from the top and the bottom. So it just takes a little bit of practice. It's actually really fun to do some Dutch oven cooking. And then in your manual on page 13, gives you some information about solar panels in case you are interested. This particular course cannot get into solar panels as much as we would like to, because more than likely within about a month or two after this video is shot, the solar industry is going to be different because it is evolving continually, very, very quickly. So you really need to do your own research on solar panels, but the information in this manual gives you enough of a start that you know what to look for, because some solar panels are much more superior to other ones. And the little setup that I have is much more inferior. It's not a real strong system. So you have a couple of pages regarding solar panels and charge controllers and inverters and batteries. And when you see the segment on my little solar panel setup, you will see what I'm talking about. And that ends our fuel section.